Hey everybody, welcome back. Another week of exciting college football action. Alex is back here with us. Uh, Again on that daddy duty,
Yep.
work life, school life. Busy man, Mr. Alex Shaw. Uh, Alex, you would give us today is Tuesday. We're recording on Tuesday night. Playoff polls came out about an hour ago. Alex, you want to give us what the top 10 looks like?
Yeah. So starting off at one, no surprise here, Alabama. Number two comes in. Number two, we have Notre Dame. Number three, Clemson. Number four, Ohio State. I'm a little surprised they're at Ohio State coming in at four, but not so much surprised, I guess, at the same time, just with the performance against IU. I think that's exactly what put them there. Number five, we have Texas A&M. Number six, we have Florida. Number seven, we have Cincinnati. Number eight, the biggest jump, we have Northwestern. And number nine, we have Georgia. And finally, at number 10, we have Miami.
So wait a second. So they moved BYU back to what?
14. BYU
14.
goes from 8 to 14.
So they move them to 14, but they keep UC at 7.
That I don't understand.
At all. Whatever. No shocker. It's all reactionary. If you go back and look, that's what I was going to ask. I was going to quiz you guys. Can you guys tell me what the first college football playoff poll was? Name the 4 teams.
Yeah.
No. Okay, the 4 teams were Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Auburn, and Florida State. And of course, Florida State and Auburn played in the national championship the year before, and Mississippi State and Ole Miss were like 9-10 win teams. So it's all reactionary to like what happened last year. So it's no surprise that was going to be the rank. It's no surprise because it's carryover basically from the all season, what people's opinions were about these teams. But no shock there that they put Clemson in Ohio State. It's just reactionary crap. I mean, for me, I get it that they struggled against IU. But Clemson hasn't beat anybody of note. I mean, they beat Miami, but Miami has survived a couple games here lately that they haven't looked like the real Miami.
Right.
So, I don't know. Nothing to make of it, at least as a Florida fan.
Well, especially when Clemson has one loss, too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know that's without Trevor Lawrence, but, yeah, I'm still surprised Clemson's not 4.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it'll work itself out, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be a little bit of, saltiness by somebody. I'm sure Cincinnati or BYU will gripe in the end. Maybe even Texas A&M. Hopefully Florida gets in there and you can hear Texas A&M bitch all season long. We beat them. All right, Matt, you want to tell us about the first game this week?
Yeah, first game this week at noon on ESPN. It's Kentucky traveling down to play the number 6 Florida Gators in the Swamp. Last time the Cats were down there, the Cats ended a 31-game losing streak to the Gators. About damn time. The only time they have ever beaten the Gators in mine, Justin, and Alex's lifetime. So, but this time it's not going to be it's going to go the complete opposite direction because we all saw what happened to them against Alabama. Florida's offense is just as good as Alabama, if not better. So Florida should have their way. Kyle Trask should keep throwing 4 to 5 touchdowns. And Kadarius Toney, and now they've got Kyle Pitts back. That's going to be even more of a problem for us. So Florida should run away with this game pretty easily.
Oh, yeah. They're all saving graces that we have that idiot Todd Grantham at defense coordinator.
So we actually score more than 3 points this week.
Yes. Yeah. I would say Kentucky's going to score a few more than 3. This is the first time I've been vocal about how bad Todd Grantham is. It's not Todd Grantham's scheme. I think it's some of the assistant coaches, but for Florida to look so disjointed on defense week in, week out, all season long, we're 7 games into the schedule, and Florida is running around they're chickens, like chickens with their heads cut off. I mean, they have no idea what defense they're running from play to play, and teams are starting to key in on that. I think Kentucky, with the way they can run the ball, I think Kentucky will have success in this game, moving the ball down the field, sustaining drives where they really haven't the last few weeks. You know, they struggled against Missouri, and they struggled mightily against Alabama after the first two drives. But Florida's just going to probably eviscerate Kentucky's defense in this game. And that's shocking to me. You know, I think that Kentucky, going into the season, I felt like Kentucky's defensive backs would probably be Florida's biggest challenge in the entire SEC. Even games that were not on the schedule. You know, they end up playing Alabama, Kentucky's defensive backs. But Kentucky's defensive backs are kind of prima donnas. They bought into the hype. They didn't put in the work, and now you're seeing it show out there on the field. But yeah, there's just no way in the world I see Kentucky keeping this inside of double digits. I think that Florida will roll. Maybe not as much as people would expect out of this game, because Kentucky, Mark Stoops has had success against Florida in the past, but that's with more of a run style that Florida was trying to do. I don't think they're prepared for a team that's just going to air it out all game long. So I'm going to pick Florida. I think you're picking Florida, right, Matt?
Yeah, I'm picking Florida.
What you got, Alex?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Florida on this as well. I think, Trask is going to have another great game. I think he's going to put up some ridiculous numbers and, put another exclamation point next to that Heisman watch.
Yeah, that thing's really picked up steam over the last couple of weeks, especially with Trevor Lawrence not playing, and Justin Fields had a rough game against Indiana this week. So obviously Mac Jones is still out there. Yeah, in a lot of people's opinion, it's going to come down to that game. Who's going to Heisman, Mac Jones or Kyle Trask? And I got to tell you, neither defense I'm scared of at all. I don't think Florida's defense is anything to worry. Alabama, I don't think Florida should be worried at all for Alabama's defense. And Chad and Casey both picked Florida too. Moving right along. It's the Iron Bowl. It snuck up on us this year. Again, it's usually played at the end of the season, but it's usually played end of the season, usually this week.
Yeah.
So they kept it on the same day during the Thanksgiving weekend, but obviously it's not going to be either team's final game this season. Auburn has been the most successful team in the SEC playing Alabama. They've under Nick Saban, I should say. I think they've won 3 games against Nick Saban. That's hilarious. He's been there for 15 years. And the best that anybody can muster was 3 or 4. I think Auburn beat them in 2010. They beat them in 2005, and they beat them in 2013 and 2017. So that's 4 for sure that they beat them.
And they beat them last year too.
And they beat them last year too. So that's 5. They beat them 5 in the last 15 years. Yeah. You got a 33% win rate against Nick Saban. Pop champagne, man. I think this year, though, Alabama offensively is just too much. Auburn's defense has had a lot of struggles stopping the run this year, and they're facing arguably the best running back in the country, Najee Harris. So I don't see this being a game where Auburn just comes out and surprises everybody. I think Alabama just wins this game, kind of going away from what they've been for the last couple of years and just annihilating Auburn through the ground. I'm picking Alabama in this matchup. Alex?
Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go with Alabama. I think Auburn just hasn't been consistent. I feel like every game you get a different team. Like some games they look a little bit more solid than others. But yeah, I think Alabama is just going to be way too much for them to handle offensively. I think you're right on there. I think just with their running back, just being the top running back, and I just think they're going to tear them up.
Yeah. Matt?
Yeah, like both of you guys said, I know it's a rivalry game, and you can never tell with rivalry games. They can go one way or the other. But I ultimately think, like Alex said, it just Auburn's been too inconsistent this year. I mean, the best they've looked through their 5 or 6 games they played this year was LSU, where they just outright dominated them. But all the other games, they've been suspect. So I just think with Najee Harris and Mac Jones, that duo, and Devontae Smith out there at wide receiver, it's just going to be too much for Auburn to handle. So I'm going to pick Alabama.
Yeah. Did Casey get his picks over to you?
Yeah, he did.
Okay. Who did he have in this game? Of course, Casey's an Auburn fan.
Yeah. I believe he had Alabama.
Alabama.
Yeah.
He just kind of – Chad had Alabama too. It's just kind of one of those years for Auburn. It's GG, you know. They've had a good season, even though there's been some nail-biters. And people like to pick those games out. But they have sustained wins, and I think Auburn will be very happy to leave the season 7-3. I think 6-4 they'll be okay with. I think 5-5 then they'll be pretty upset. But the schedule they still have left, they have A&M and Alabama. They could potentially get 2 losses here, but Auburn's been a lot better than what we thought week 3. You know, I thought Auburn would be second in the SEC. Early struggles kind of really put that to bed for me. But I did pick them to lose to Kentucky. That shows you how much I was wrong about Kentucky this year. All right. Moving right along. Alex, you want to give us Ohio State, Illinois?
Yeah. So this one, I think this is going to be a confidence game for Ohio State after, coming into an extremely close game with Indiana that should not have been a close game if you're a top 4 contender. They need this. I think Justin Fields needs this to boost his confidence again. Coming off of, 3 interceptions last week, I think. Not Indiana, but Illinois is the perfect team for them to go in and, beat up against. So I don't think it's going to be close at all. I think it's going to be Justin Fields throwing like crazy. I think he's going to have a great game, and, I think Ohio State all the way on this one.
Yeah. The only thing I'll say about this game is, and I'll ask you this, Alex, do you think that the coach they got over there at Illinois, you think his job might be on the line? I know not in this Ohio State game, but this season.
Yeah. I honestly, I don't know. And I don't know. It's such a weird year. Like, it's not – I feel like for the SEC, right, it's like more of a normal football season, I would say, like for just the way that you guys are handling stuff. But with the Big Ten, I feel like it just hasn't been handled right from the beginning. You know what I mean? From the late start, from the delays in games. So I don't know. I think a lot of the Big Ten coaches will probably keep their jobs going into the next season just because it's going to be like the season that didn't technically happen. I feel like that's how it's going to be for a lot of schools. So I don't know. I don't think he loses his job. I think Harbaugh has a better chance at losing his job than Illinois' coach.
Do you think that James Franklin is in trouble?
I don't know. I mean, you would think just because it's such a it's a football school. I don't know. It's like, again, it's a really weird year in the Big Ten. There's probably like 4 coaches for sure that might need to be fired, but I don't know. I would think probably. I mean, if you haven't won a game, right? And I think it might be the first time in school history. I'm not sure, or the first time since like the '60s or something that they started winless. So
maybe 1860.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm sure they're going to start looking at that.
They were independent for so long, so it's not like they were. I mean, it's not the independence like it was. Like back then, there were some legit teams that were independent. Like now, it's Notre Dame and a bunch of dudes. New Mexico State is an independent team. Like teams you couldn't give a rat's ass about.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's just an all-time terrible season for Penn State. And I think that a few coaches should get fired, but you're probably right. I think with the financial loss, I think that a few teams survive, or a few coaches survive that wouldn't normally. Matt, you picking Ohio State? I know you probably don't have a ton to say about this one.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Ohio State. I agree with Alex. It's going to be a bounce-back game for Ohio State and Justin Fields after their game against Indiana. I mean, Illinois has not been that good. I mean, I only watched them against Wisconsin, and where they got just absolutely destroyed. And but Ohio State will have a rebound game. So,
all right, I think Casey took Ohio State, right?
yeah, he did.
Yeah. Chad surprisingly took Ohio State, by the way. Shocker. Stop the presses. I just wrote all of you down for Illinois. So I'm very big modification. But that would be my luck, right? I'd pick Ohio State, you all pick Illinois, and Illinois wins. All right. Moving right along. I hate to do this to you, Alex, but I'm definitely going to have to. Can you give us the Maryland IU matchup?
Yeah, so, IU, their confidence, they're coming in thinking, they're probably so good coming off of Ohio State. Definitely, I mean, it's a very weird year, and a lot of Big Ten teams aren't what they have been in the past. So it's really hard to size up an IU team when they just haven't played, a whole lot of people. I know they played Ohio State, but Ohio State hasn't played anyone, so we really don't know where Ohio State stacks up against, a better football team. I think in this one, Tua's brother, I forget his first name, he's been playing pretty good at Maryland. And I think I'm going to pick Maryland on this one. I think they're going to upset Indiana. I know I don't know. I just think it's going to happen. I know it's kind of a bold pick this week, but I just don't think Indiana's been tested. And I think Maryland's offense looks pretty explosive when it has to be. They're just kind of trying to find their identity as the season goes on. And I think they're one of those teams that if everything's clicking and everything's going right, they can knock off Indiana. And I think I think there's a pretty good chance that they might do that.
Yeah. So is Maryland, they missed the last two games, didn't they?
Yeah. Yep, so they missed the last few games. Let me see, because they had that, let me see who it was. Because they were going to play Ohio State, didn't play Ohio State. They beat Minnesota. They beat Penn State, but they lost to Northwestern. That's the only loss. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to go Maryland.
Was that a close game?
No, it was 43-3. So.
All right, I'm taking Indiana then.
Yeah.
I've seen Indiana. I haven't seen Tua's. I think his name's like Tua Leia or something like that. I mean, it's literally
the
same name.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
which is weird to me. I mean, it's really not that uncommon. I mean, a lot of people have the junior and stuff like that, but not brothers. You figure they would go a little bit more unique with brothers' names. But yeah, I'm picking Indiana. Indiana did. They impressed me with that comeback. It shows me that there's leadership and there's a lot of heart on Indiana's team. So that makes me feel good that they'll probably win the majority of their games left on their schedule. It's one thing to be hot and winning winning a bunch of games. But, whenever the chips are down, you're playing a team that you shouldn't have a chance against. It's easy to check out, and Indiana clearly did not do that. And they came back against Ohio State. So I'm definitely a little bit higher on Indiana. I'm taking them this week against Maryland. But it should be a fun matchup. Matt?
I'm going to take Indiana. I think they bounce back after their loss to Ohio State. I do think it's going to be a competitive game because, like Alex said, the way Maryland's offense has looked, minus their one loss to Northwestern, Tua's younger brother's been racking up a lot of yards. I think he had over 600 yards their last game. So I think it'll be a pretty competitive game, but I ultimately think Indiana's going to pull away.
Yeah. Who did Casey have in this one?
I believe he had Indiana.
We gotta see what
Yeah.
Chad had.
Yeah, he had Indiana.
And Chad had Indiana. Alex, you're going in alone the rest of the week.
I just have a feeling about this one.
Yeah. But you might be right. I mean, like you said, we just haven't seen a lot from Maryland, and obviously, Northwestern's a really good team.
Yeah.
Motivated, I think they had a pretty bad season last year, so they had a lot of stuff they wanted to get off their chest, and I think I like your pick, but I'm gonna have to lean Indiana just what I saw from the leadership standpoint. All right, going back to the ACC, first time in a little while for us. Notre Dame at North Carolina. Matt, you want to give us this one?
Yeah, so number 2 Notre Dame at number 15 North Carolina. This should be a really great game. I have not sat down and watched North Carolina this year for a full game. I did watch Notre Dame against Clemson, and what a great game that was. This is definitely going to be right up there with hype-wise, it's going to be right back up there with Clemson Miami and Clemson Notre Dame. Of course, only one of those games actually lived up to the hype, and that was Clemson Notre Dame. But because Clemson absolutely trounced Miami. But North Carolina, they've been interesting. They're kind of like Auburn. They've been up and down this year. They're 4-2, 5-2, I believe, and their 2 losses were to teams they should not have lost to. Like they lost at Virginia.
They lost to the worst 2 teams in the ACC.
Yeah. So it's
at
like
the time.
At the time, yeah. But I think this is going to be a really great game. It's a game that's really not getting talked about much, like on the media and on ESPN. And I'm ultimately going to pick the upset. I'm going to pick North Carolina to beat Notre Dame.
Yeah, I'm interested to see this game just for the quarterback matchup.
Yeah.
Ian Book versus Sam Howell. That should be a fun saddle up and watch that one. But ultimately, I think Notre Dame ends up pulling this one out. I think North Carolina's been far too inconsistent. I think the only thing North Carolina, if this game would have been a regular game, North Carolina is a pretty tough place to play a ball game at. I think Notre Dame would struggle a little bit with that advantage. But it's just not a game that's going to sneak up on Notre Dame. You know what I mean? You really got to find, because Notre Dame, the prize, they have the eye on the prize, right? I mean, they obviously got to get back to the ACC championship and beat Clemson again, and so they're not going to let games like this slip them up. If it was a team that just had a bad win-loss record, came in there playing confident, then maybe. But I don't think a game like this where North Carolina's a higher rated team, and I don't foresee Notre Dame slipping up here. So I'm going to take Notre Dame this week. Alex?
For this one, I'm going to go with Matt on this one. I'm all about the upsets this week. I'm going to pick North Carolina on this one. I think kind of like I feel like more so North Carolina instead of Maryland. They're more of I don't know. I feel like it's more likely that North Carolina pulls this off. I think a lot of the games that they have played, even the losses have been somewhat close. But they looked really good. The offense looks good. The quarterback looks good. And I think it could be one of those games where, they catch Notre Dame sleeping. I hope they do. So
Yeah.
I hope they go in and they upset them. I'm really pulling for it. So we'll see what happens.
All right. Okay. Who do Casey have, Matt?
He's signed with me now, so he got North Carolina.
Oh, so I'm the only one that's picking Notre Dame in this game.
What's Chad got?
Chad also had North Carolina.
Yeah,
really?
You're the lone dog.
Yeah.
Yep.
UNC. What he wrote down. Oh, man. But back to your comment, Alex. You're taking all the upsets this week. All
not all the upsets.
Not all of them.
Just these past 2 games that we talked
all the
about.
upsets this week.
I think that one's a pretty sure deal.
All right. No, we'll get on to our last one. I think we're hitting the 4-minute mark, so that means we probably have a 3-minute mark. I know if anybody out there is watching any of these episodes other than us, you probably have noticed some of our videos are cut off short. Recording. I'm going to be looking for a recording feature. Me and Matt are going to still do basketball season. So if you're a big basketball fan, you're definitely going to want to subscribe because me and Matt, that's in our wheelhouse. Both of us, we love college football. We can talk college football all day long, but both of us, our passion is basketball. Obviously, big Blue fan and me being a Gator fan growing up in Lexington, basketball, 365. But yeah, the last game is should be a good one. It's a good little rivalry here. LSU at Texas A&M. Little nomer that I'm going to throw out there is LSU was actually the last SEC team to lose to Texas A&M in the history of the school history in the head-to-head matchup. LSU, I think it was that game 2 years ago, wasn't it? That Texas A&M finally beat LSU. They played each other like 17 times. LSU's won every single matchup. Which is hard to believe knowing Texas A&M's history, not necessarily tradition. They've had some good decades of football. Yeah, this game's exciting to me. Texas A&M, LSU. I'm gonna have to take LSU in this matchup. I think this is a game where LSU put it on pretty good last year. Kellen Mond historically has not liked the LSU game, struggled in the LSU game. I know he had those 2 ridiculous receivers a couple of years ago in that 7 overtime game. But I have to take LSU in this one. LSU doesn't have a lot left they're playing for. They're still a really talented team and can really put a hurting on anybody that doesn't take them seriously. And I think that's where we're at this year. I think A&M is going to try to go out there and really put it on LSU early, and they're going to realize, wait a second, this wasn't what we signed up for, and LSU steamrolled. I think LSU beats them by a couple touchdowns, to be honest with you. I think this might be where we see Kellen Mond descend back to earth. But go ahead with it. I'll pass it to you, Matt.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead and let everybody know that Casey chose Texas A&M. And but yeah, since Texas A&M has entered the SEC, I think this is a rivalry that really doesn't get talked about much. Behind the Iron Bowl and Florida, Georgia, and all these other great rivalries that traditionally have made up the SEC. I look for this to be a really good game because that 7 overtime game they had last time they were at Texas A&M was unbelievable. Yeah. One of the best games I've ever seen in my life. But I'm going to pull with Texas A&M this game as well. But it's a very slight margin. It's not – Texas A&M's been off the last 2 weeks, so see how that affects them. But I'm still going to have them winning the game.
Yeah, and Chad also had Texas A&M. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm going to go with Texas A&M on this one. I think that I don't know. I just have a feeling that they'll continue on. They look pretty good so far, so I'm going to stay with them.
All right. Well, that'll do it this week, guys. Thanks again, Alex and Matt, for joining us. And hope you guys enjoy your games. Good luck. I don't know. I would say good luck to your teams, but Alex's team.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
And, yeah, Matt.
We'll see you on Sunday, buddy.
I hope you all enjoyed that game in 2018, man. I hope you guys put that on a plaque somewhere, man. It's gonna be a hurting on Saturday. It's gonna be a hurting. And Kyle Trask came a number. Kyle Trask made his debut against you guys. Kentucky carrying on the tradition of making the backup quarterback